there, my name's Jill Tiny. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learnt an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello everybody, my name is Jill Tiny from Collaboration Global, and welcome to the podcast Being Human, Hidden Depths. And I'm delighted to say that I am joined by one of our founder members today, who also happens to be my husband. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Welcome, Alan Brown. How are you today?
I'm very well. Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's very, very privileged to be here. Very happy to be here. And
we started already. I'm interrupting you. I've got to stop that. Some people would say that it's taken a long time for you to actually be on the podcast. So I do apologise that other people have come up before you, but this is a little bit weird for us, I guess, that we know what the other one's going to say because we've been together for such a long time. But it's lovely to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation because hopefully it will help people to understand and get to know you almost as well as I do already. So, first and foremost, Collaboration Global has been around a little while. You've been part of the community for a little while. Apart from me, obviously, what made you kind of get into the fold? What made you get involved?
Well, there's no other reason apart from you, is there?
That was a good one. That is a good one.
No, I mean, I went along initially because of you, obviously. You were starting this movement. It was something that you were very excited about, something very passionate about. And I'm always 100% behind you and what you do. So, yes, initially I went along to support you. But as the years have gone on, it's become its own beast, if you like. So I'm privileged and proud to be a member of Collaboration Global. And it's just, I'm there because I want to be there. I'm not there anymore to support you. I'm there to contribute to the organisation, help other people, and obviously be helped and get stuff out of it as well.
Absolutely. There's kind of no point in coming along, is there, if you're not going to be getting anything out of it. And hopefully this conversation is going to be illustrating some of the things that you've gone, wow, didn't expect that was going to happen. Tell us your impressions of the first meeting. What was it like way back when? We're talking 2013 probably, 12, 13, something like that. What was your thoughts when you first had that first meeting?
Well, I mean, it was a case of nobody knew, did they? It was you coming along with an idea, a concept. Everyone was going, ooh, I'm not sure what to expect. And I was one of those people because I don't think you gave me any pre-warning of what it was about, what to expect, what I was going to experience during the meeting. So when I went, I was just a punter, the same as anybody else. And I guess I felt a bit apprehensive. I felt a little bit sort of excited as to what was going to happen, and I suppose a lot of it was strange language because it was language that was being used which is not in mainstream language, if you like. So yeah, I came away gobsmacked and absolutely in awe of what you was trying to achieve and what your objectives were, and what the things that were said, like global, help people globally and give something back globally. Everything was massive. Everything was, we want to make a difference. And that's not just in the local community, although it does include the local community. It's ultimately worldwide. And that was just awesome.
I think our philosophy as time grew was that if you're going to change the world, if you want to alter the paradigm from which people view their lives, you have to start with the individual. So you can't change the world until you've worked on yourself first. So a lot of what we do is personal development, and then you kind of understand a bit more about you and a bit more about what drives you, what your context is for your life and where you're going, and then you play that into collaborations, and the collaborations then have a life of their own that they can support and help other people going forward as well. So my philosophy is we can't do this from, let's talk to the Prime Minister and see if he can help. It's not a top-down thing. It's a grassroots thing that people start to see a different way of being and a different way of living so that they can then adjust who they are and then attract people that are like them, not like-minded up here, but like-hearted. People talk about the law of attraction, but it is kind of that magnetism kind of chemistry thing where it's like, well, you believe the same things I believe. And it's not because you've given me a pitch about your business. It's because we've had a proper conversation and we understand each other and we understand what's important to us and what our values are. And then you go, should we do something together? Because actually that would be really good fun. And I think we could make an impact. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 people get together. Before you know it, you've got a collaboration that's going on.
I think that's been highlighted over the years where people come along to a meeting and they go, this is home, this is something I've been looking for. So, you are attracting people that want to give, want to do more and be more, give a bigger contribution to the world or to society. But as you say, it starts with what's in your heart, and people do find it sort of comforting that there is a group that can cater to that sort of thinking.
So, putting you on the spot slightly, which I like doing, is there a memory of one of our meetings that you've sort of come away with going, it blew my mind? Not necessarily for you to have had a transformation, but maybe you've seen somebody else have a transformation in the way they think.
Well, as you know, I'm a very, very emotional person. Some would say I'm a bit of a girly, but
it's a good thing.
So for me, I think it's when anybody gives their personal testimony or their know and be known or their connect to me, and it's from the heart, and and they start crying, and then other people start crying, and then it's like, whoa! It just breaks down those barriers where they can't talk like that in any other group. So it's what we call a safe space. Which is a bit of a cliche, but what it means is that people aren't going to be judgmental. People aren't going to ridicule you for crying, for opening up, for telling part of your story which perhaps you haven't told before. And that's when I come away sort of, whoa, that was just incredible. That was just amazing. And it's just wonderful. There is that space where people can do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a privilege to be there, isn't it, at that time when people are brave enough to go, I've never told anyone else this before, and you're like, whoa. And I don't know about you, but I've learned as much from those incidences where people are brave enough to share, and I've gone, that was me too. I've been like that. Oh my goodness, I had that upbringing. I had that situation. And then you realise things about yourself. So the audience learn as much as the person delivering. You're both learning, because the person delivering, it's like cathartic. I've never thought about myself in this way. I've never considered, how I got to where I am and why I am this person. And when you spend the time to consider because you want to share it with other people, all of a sudden you then realise that all the life lessons that you've had, all the hard knocks in life, have brought you to the wonderful space of who you are today. So talking about hard knocks, in a hard knock life, you didn't have a silver spoon in your mouth, did you, when you were born? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what shaped you in your early years?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I was born in the East End of London to not a rich family, but not a poor family. We were probably sort of somewhere in the middle, so we did have a yearly holiday. We lived in a house, albeit it was rented. But yeah, it was in the East End of London, so life was tough. Hand-me-down clothes, that type of thing. So money wasn't plentiful. My dad worked in the docks, and my mother worked in a school just as a welfare assistant. And I had one brother, David, who was 2.5 years older than me. And basically it was a happy household in the sense that we were both loved. But we had to fend for ourselves. School was rough. School was interesting, shall we say. But my passion was sport. I just absolutely loved playing football, rounders, cricket. I represented the school in long jump and was the Newham champion, East London champion 1 year. 11'2" I jumped.
Woohoo! I wonder what the record is now.
How far do you want me to go, Joe? I mean, that's basically the upbringing. But
well, I was thinking more along the lines of, interestingly, how when I met you, you worked in local government, and yet even then you were showing signs of being an entrepreneur. And,
yeah, sure. Well, I mean,
the Del Boy.
well, yeah, okay. So the thing is, I had my first business when I was 10. So my dad used to take us over to collect conkers over at Wanstead, and I used to sell them at school, sort of 5 for a penny or whatever. But then I saw the competition come in, someone was selling them 6 for a penny. So we skewered them, put strings on them, so they were ready to play. They were ready to use conkers, so we could sell them for a penny each, add value. I mean, that's where it was. But so, I just had to get that story in.
Yeah, it's good. I like that one.
But my mum and dad were very much get yourself a proper job. So I had 2 interviews at the age of 16, 17 with the London Electricity Board and Newham Council, which was the local government housing department. Got offered both jobs, decided to take the one with the housing department. And yeah, was very successful there, got promotion till about the age of 23. But there was always that sort of square hole or round peg in a square hole type syndrome where I didn't feel I was doing what I wanted to do or what I was called to do. My friend and I had a market store at 17, selling watches and clocks, and that's where you get the Del Boy from, I know that. But my mum and dad were not keen on me doing that full time. They said, get a proper job with a proper pension. Ha ha ha, what would they say now? And that's the path I chose. So my friend continued with the market stall, became a millionaire. No, I'm only joking. Continued with the market stall, but I got a proper job with the council, but never felt 100% comfortable doing that job, because I always had that entrepreneur spirit where I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to work for myself from the age of about 10. I had a Saturday job in Queens Road Market near West Ham Football Ground, and I learnt from the owners of that business, and I just knew at that age I was destined to have my own business in one shape or another, even at that early age.
So what was the point when you jumped? It's a big jump, isn't it? From local government, safe, pension, regular, security, whatever that is nowadays. But you jumped, and you jumped with minimal security, didn't you? How brave did you feel doing that at the time? How scary was it?
I felt very brave in myself, in the sense that it was outside my comfort zone. But you say that there was no security. I mean, I think we were married at that time, or at least living together. And you always said, look, if you don't do it now, you never will. And we can just about survive on my salary if it all goes badly wrong. And coincidentally, it was my friend who carried on with the market stall that convinced me ultimately to jump ship with the council and go and set up my own business. And I didn't think I had the attributes to do that. But he said to me something that was very wise, and all the business people out there should very carefully listen to what I'm about to say. There is no such thing as the gift of the gab. No such thing. People that have got the gift of the gab, as it's known, do not survive as entrepreneurs in business. To survive in business, you need a clear head, you need to be able to talk to people, and you need to be a problem solver. So solve people's problems and you will have a successful business. If you just try and sell by selling something that you don't believe in, which is the gift of the gab, then you'll have a very short-term business. So you was part of that. I mean, you encouraged me to do it, and I'll always be grateful to my friend who convinced me to do it, and I'll also be grateful to you, Jill, at the time, because, like I said, you said that if it all goes badly wrong, we've got that security blanket of my salary. So, publicly, thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I think it's interesting, isn't it? As some people are fearful of if things go wrong. I was always fearful of what if we don't What if we don't try it? What if we don't do it? And it was like, I knew that we had to kind of push ourselves. And when you look back at our life, just for information, folks, we've been together since 1977. So it gives you an idea that we know each other really, really well. But looking back on every move that we've made, we've constantly been pushing ourselves. Every house we moved to, we couldn't afford. Every expansion of the business, it was always a gamble. We've always kind of pushed. And the philosophy being, well, if it goes wrong and we come back to where we are, it's not so bad. Mm-hmm. So we always, and through your tenacity, you made sure that it did always work. And we've never had to go back. And it's easy to say now, sort of 30 odd years on, but at the time it was scary. And even when we had young children and we were pushing ourselves to sort of do the ultimate move, my philosophy was, well, if we could stay in that house for a year, that's still a bonus. We've had a year in a lovely house, and we'll have to move back down market again. And I can remember you kind of going, okay. And the logic didn't quite stack up for you, but you went, come on, let's do this. And I cannot imagine you going, no, it's not working, let's move back down. You were very much a grafter, so you'd roll the sleeves up and like, come on, let's get on with it. And I think that's possibly what's missing for some people these days, is they want a lovely business. They want the work-life balance, and they want it to kind of flourish, but they're not prepared to put in the donkey work to get it done. I saw a tweet from Daniel Priestley the other day, and he said he'd read somewhere that somebody had just started up in business, and they were struggling to find the work-life balance. And he's just put all these emojis of laughing, because in reality, in your first 3 years of business, there is no work-life balance. It's all work, until you can go, right, kind of got it off the ground now. Now we can look at other things. Well, let's have a day off, and it is understanding that there are times when you're like, this is crazy, I'm just working too hard. So long as it doesn't go on interminably, and it's for a short period of time, you can do it. But a lot of people, I think, don't acknowledge how tough it is to start your own business, and why so many businesses fail in the first year.
I think part of it, though, Joe, is a bit like social media, isn't it? If you're going to have a successful social media campaign, you need to consistently do the same thing to get that traction. And I think it's the same in business. If you consistently do the right things, you've got the right team, the right money, and the right time balance, and you consistently do that, then you will have a successful business. I think it's people that go after the shiny object and just fool themselves into thinking that's going to make them rich quick. Because that doesn't happen in reality. Might happen one business in a million, but the others, you need consistently doing the right things at the right time. And
when you say the right thing, it's not necessarily the right thing that this guru's told you to do. It's the right thing for your business, and you've got to do the work to find out what is the right thing for your business. So tell us about the business that you started all those years ago. So what led you into your current business?
Well, it's an interesting story, actually, because initially I was selling these things called telex machines, which a lot of people listening won't even know what a telex machine is. But if I say it was the forerunner to the facsimile machine, then perhaps that puts a bit more context into the situation. But it was more like a printer where people sent a message and then it printed out. Okay, so I was selling the machines that did that, and we were upgrading people from the old-fashioned ones to the new technology, which was great, and the commission structure was really good. But what I saw was I got paid once for the machine I sold, but then the consumables department got paid month after month after month for the inks, the ribbons, and all the other stuff that they needed to keep the telex machine going. So I thought, I want a slice of that. And that's what was the real catalyst for me to start on my own, so that I could build a business that was sustainable and it was buildable, if that's a real word. You could build on it month after month. And the plan was that if you got 5 customers in the first month, the second month you get another 5, plus you get repeat orders from the first month. So it builds and builds and builds until such time as you've got a business that's sustainable in its own right. So that was the plan. So I did that, started that in 1988, which was 32 years ago. and we've never looked back since. Never ever looked back. I still love every moment of being in business. I'm passionate about what I do, and I just love it. I mean, you talk about work-life balance. I don't know about anybody else, but on a Sunday night, when I used to think about going back to school on a Monday morning, I had that gut feeling of, I don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
I've just enjoyed the weekend so much, just playing football all the time. I spent sort of 9 till 10 on a Sunday night doing all the homework I should have done Friday night, but I was out playing football. And that gut feeling, I've never ever had that one Sunday night since I started that business in 1988. I've loved my home life, but I love my work life as well. I've got a very privileged position there.
And it hasn't all been plain sailing, has it?
No.
I do remember the one time when I don't know if we had Danielle at this point as a baby, and you went off to work, and about 9 o'clock at night, and you hadn't come home, but that wasn't that unusual in the early days. I knock on the door, and I'm like, why is he knocking on the door? Has he forgotten his keys? And I open the door, and there's this huge policeman standing at the front door, and I'm like, what? Does Mr. Alan Brown live here? Yes. Is he in, madam? No. Where does he work, madam? Oh, shit. Didn't know what was going on. And apparently there was this massive fire that had happened in the unit next to our unit that we had. And obviously at that point we were selling stationery. So there was a lot of paper in the unit, and paper and fire do not go well together. And as far as I knew, you were in the unit. Well, carry on the story. I'll let you can imagine me having kittens at home, but what had happened for you?
Well, as you say, there was a fire in the unit next door, and that, I mean, you say that we sell paper, but that was a battery storage place. So there was explosion after explosion after explosion. 5
counties had police fire brigade.
Because I was not in the unit at the time. I was, I don't know where I was. It was so many years ago.
You were delivering in London, apparently, and we didn't have mobile phones then, so we didn't know that.
I was travelling back from London. But the interesting thing about that story is that that weekend, it was a Friday night, and that weekend we were going down to see your sister, Jill, and her husband, and I didn't know at that time whether the insurance would pay out, i.e. we had contents insurance, but I couldn't get hold of the broker, so I was so highly strung that weekend, it was unreal. So yeah, the worry and the stress at that weekend was probably 2 years worth of worry, because I just saw my business fall off a cliff, and I didn't know whether I was going to be paid out for the damaged stock. So it was a very tough weekend. But on the Monday morning, it was confirmed that we was insured. It was a very tough 6 months after that.
That's horrendous, yeah.
Back to normal, because all the phone lines were damaged, all the tech equipment was damaged. I had to renew all of that, as well as all the paper stock, as you say. Must have been a lovely bonfire.
Yeah. It was one of those things that you kind of remember. It's like, well, if we can get through that, we can get through anything. It was really, really tough at that time. And I can still smell that smell of you coming home every night for months and months with the smell of the smoke on your clothes. And it would be, you stand at the front door and strip off and I'd pick up all the stuff and shove it in the washing machine. Then you'd go up and have a shower and come back, and that smell was still sort of hanging around.
You imagine the smell working in that environment?
I can't. Most people would have given up and gone, yeah, I think I'll go and work for the council again. But your love for the job and what you were doing, you were just,
Never a job. I've never seen it as a job.
No.
It's what I do. It's what I do.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't appreciate that starting your own business in 1988, you've been through some recessions, you've seen some ups, you've seen some downs, you've got quite a lot of collateral from the experience world of being in business. Now, although it's selling product, and a lot of people nowadays are selling services, there's a lot of similarities along the way. So I would imagine, what would you say as a business owner, having gone through that, with somebody in the position now that coronavirus is probably their fire that you had to go through at that time? What advice would you give them now to keep on keeping on?
I think to make your business resilient, it's not, being in business is not a short-term mindset. It's not something you just do for a year and then give up. if you are serious about being in business long term, then you need to build up resilience. Now that can be money, it can be insurance policies, it can be something where you have an emergency situation but your business survives. Now with the coronavirus, it is very, very different because the government have stepped in and helped. But I know a lot of business colleagues who are very, very worried at the moment about whether they will bounce back. And I feel for them, Jill. I absolutely feel for them, because if they've spent 10 years building up their business and now all of a sudden through no fault of their own, and I underline that, they have the possibility of going bust, then that is just horrendous. That is absolutely horrendous. All that work, all that time, all that effort for nothing goes down the drain. So I do feel for them. But I think with any other emergency, if you've got a resilient business, then that's what you need to aim for. That should be part of your mission statement, if you like.
Yeah. I do. I'm very aware that, I mean, I'm not the money person, but you are very astute with money, and very proud of the fact that we've never actually gone for a loan. I think for the first sort of 20 odd years, you didn't even have an overdraft, did you? It wasn't something that you even considered. So I think being clever around how you make money work for you, and always have that cash flow, because how many businesses have you seen, and we've both seen over the years, just go down because cash flow was stunted? You know, people that I've coached personally, plumbers that had like nearly £100,000 outstanding in unpaid invoices, and they were scrabbling around about how to buy the right pipes to go and fix somebody's bathroom. You know, so if you're not clever with your cash flow and you don't understand your money, you need to contact someone like you to understand how it all works.
Well, I've seen a lot of businesses that try to expand too fast as well. This is part of it. If you can't handle the increased business, both in terms of the cash flow and the manpower and the resources, then just make sure you do it at a pace that's comfortable and one that you can cope with, and not put a strain on the resilience. And we come back to resilience. It doesn't put a strain on the resilience of the business.
Yeah. I mean, so many people naively say, oh yeah, if I've got too many customers, what a great problem to have. But how awful, if you've got too many customers, you can't service them, you start losing the old customers, and all of a sudden it collapses underneath you because you don't have the capacity to, you know, up to the next level. So you've got to, as you say, do it slowly, do it carefully, and do it so that you can fulfill all expectations all round.
Or you might get a big contract for one of the major nationals, and it seems like a bright, shiny object at the time, but when they don't pay you for 90 days, and all of a sudden you're having to chase their accounts department, and they say, well, if you keep chasing us, we're not going to place any more orders with you. Well, actually, that's what you want, isn't it? Because it's going to solve your cash flow.
Yeah, it's a crazy the way people get caught out without realizing, and they think you think everyone's the same as you, but they're not, and it is the big boys that's a whole other topic.
It goes back to turnover is vanity, and profit
is sanity.
Is sanity. You know, it's no good having a high turnover if you only make 1%. It's pointless. You might as well turn over 10% of what you're turning over and make 30%, then that's the same figure, isn't it?
Yeah, I love your logic. Brilliant. So having been in business for a long time and been very successful at it, and diversified somewhat, because what was a stationery company that's kind of morphed out of the selling telexes in the beginning into selling stationery to commercial suppliers, to commercial companies, you then chose to morph into schools. And what I like about that is that you kind of accidentally got schools as customers, and you realised, when I was teaching and I was going through, you know, oh, it's so frustrating when there isn't this in the stationery cupboard, it's so frustrating when there isn't that, and you kind of went, well, hang on, what if as a company we were to put the stationery in the cupboard for you when we arrived, and what if we did this, and what if we did that? So your mantra was, let's make teachers' lives easier. I was like, that's brilliant. That's absolutely fantastic. So one of the things that's always been core through your ethos around business is customer service. Now, again, is that just your common sense, or is that let's do this trick one, let's market about this because this is touch people and they'll want to buy more, or is it actually something that's part of your values and what you believe in?
I think to be honest, I think, how would I like to be treated? If you go into a shop and someone just pesters you to buy something, then you probably won't go back again. If they're there to help, if they say, "Oh, would you need some advice on that?" then, and they give you good advice, whether you buy it or not, you're more likely to recommend that shop than the one where you've been pestered and sort of pressurized into buying something. So I sort of used that in my business, and I thought, well, you know, I don't want people to buy from me just because we're cheap, just because we're the cheapest around. I want them to have added value so that they will recommend us to other people and they will come back and rebuy. Don't forget, my business is based on the repeat business. The new business is great. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. We all need new business to top up the bit that does fall out the bottom, because that happens in any business. But we've had customers since day one. I mean, we've had schools who ordered from us in 1988 who are still ordering from us today. And, you know, I'm so proud of that people come back time after time because they get good service, they get good value. We offer something different. I mean, for example, our academic diaries, it's not just black, burgundy or navy. We offer 18 different colours, and that includes things like lime green, pistachio, try saying that with your false teeth out, orange, yellow. You know, we've got 18 colours in the spectrum, and again, people come back time after time, year after year, just because they say, "Oh, you're the company that do the bright coloured diaries, aren't you?" So we're very proud of that. That, you know, people remember us and they come back because they've got good service, good value each and every time they order from us.
And you help them out of a hole quite often as well. I often, when we're in the office together, if I'm in my office sort of next door, and I sort of wander past and I can hear you guys go, "What, you ordered this afternoon?" "Oh, go on then, I'll see what I can do." And it's like, you don't want all your customers to be asking you those kind of things, but you do go the extra mile for everybody.
It does go against us sometimes, though, Jill.
I'll bet.
Because people rely on that. So instead of ordering 10 boxes of paper when they've got 2 left, they do wait until they literally run out and say, "Oh, any chance you get it to us first thing tomorrow morning?" And yeah, as you say, 9 times out of 10 we go, "Yeah, okay, go on then." But we can only do that if it's a local business, don't forget, because when we morphed, as you put it, 4 years ago, into supplying schools, we did go nationwide. So whereas before we was known as a local stationery company and we could offer that 5-star service, we now go nationwide, and obviously we do our best to service those businesses that are not in our geographical area as well as the local ones. We're not able to do the afternoon delivery.
We'll pop in. It's the Isle of Arran. Maybe not.
So it is a slightly different business model, but one that works nonetheless.
So some people would look at you and go, "Okay, married, 2.4 children, all the kind of average Joe, got his own business, lovely, nice house, nice car, has nice holidays, la-di-da." But actually, you have delved into the world of personal development as well, haven't you? It's not your... you wouldn't necessarily look at you and go, "That bloke down the pub is very personally aware," but actually you've gone through different ways. So tell us your journey there and what's kind of come out at the other end of this.
How long you got?
Hang on. About 20 minutes.
I came to a point in my life, and mainly through Collaboration Global, it has to be said, where I thought, what is life all about? Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? So I did a lot of reading, a lot of research, went on some personal development courses just to educate myself, and I was blown away by it. It's incredible how when your mindset changes, then you can get so much more out of life. It goes beyond words. I'm struggling to find the words to explain it. But my mantra now is that I'm an optimistic entrepreneur who loves life, and my aim is to bring a bit of happiness to everybody I meet. That's now my mantra. I don't need anything else. That explains who Alan Brown is. That explains where I am at the moment. That explains my mindset, what I'm thinking, helping others. It's just now totally natural, and that's probably come about over the last 10 years or so, I would say.
Yeah.
And as I say, the main influence on that is Collaboration Global. And it's interesting that people have these revelations, they have these new ways of living, they have these personal development, and a lot of the time, and I've seen it happen, a lot of the time it's due to their experience in Collaboration Global, but they don't realise that. They don't realise that has been the spark, that has been the thing that got them off their backside to do something. I mean, when we have things like masterclasses and you hear the knowledge and the experience of various people, and as you say, Jill, it can mean one thing to one person and another to another. You might sit through a masterclass and go, what a load of rubbish that was. I've wasted an hour. Another person might go, oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's horses for courses. And in a way, I suppose, it depends where you are on your personal development, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And where you are. For example, the book I'm writing, or the book I've written, is aimed at someone that's had little or no personal development or enlightenment in their life. Now, if someone reads it who is in that category, they will be blown away. Anyone that has had it might look at it and go, it's bloody obvious, isn't it? And I know all that. Well, the book's not aimed at you, mate, you know. So yeah, I mean, I've gone full circle in the way I view my life, in the way that I want to help people, and just be. I just want people to be happy, Jill. That's all I want. I want people to be happy. Or when they get into the minute detail and they get all cross and they get all angry, that upsets me. It really upsets me. It's just be, and just enjoy the moment. Live in the moment. Live in the now. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Just live in the now. Have you got any problems now? No.
I think that's perfect, absolutely perfect. And I think a lot of people, you kind of epitomise the acknowledgement of how our brain metamorphosizes information. We talk about the left brain and the right brain a lot. So we know that obviously they're connected and they do kind of talk to each other, but the left brain is more detail driven, analytical. So the person that is more leaning towards the left brain might be going, well, how does that work, and how much money am I going to earn, and how is this going to be good for me? The right brain person will be looking at the big picture, will be looking at the emotion, and they'll be feeling things. This feels really good to me. This feels right. This feels what. And actually, you've got to take both in order to understand things. So you are known. As a businessman, your forte is sort of playing with the money, moving it around, making it work for you, getting into the detail of how you support your customers and how you look after them. Not so much the right brain, let's be creative, let's write a book. And it was kind of an alien concept to you, even though I'd done it and you'd watched me do it. You didn't think, oh, I could do that. You went, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And because of Collaboration Global, where we kind of highlighted the two areas and how they can come together, you were one of the less people in the room that were left brain. Majority of the people in the room were right brain. So they were all creatives, all big thinkers, all wanting to change the world or make a massive impact. And there's you and maybe a couple of others sitting there going, well, they're a bit crazy. They're, you can't think that big. You've got to think about yourself. You've got to think about, but bit by bit by bit, you've gone, well, what if I could make a difference? And what if I could, how would I do? And if everything I've learned over the last 5, 6, 7 years, if I put that into a book, then I know that person would be helped. This lot here, they already know it, but the people out there don't know it. And then when you muted that to the room, and it was like, yeah, I think I'm going to write this book, and everyone was so encouraging and so enthusiastic, because it wasn't like the person that's already published 4 books, I'm going to write books. Like, oh, well done, good for you. Another one, great. But you were like the person that nobody's like, wow, you're going to write a book. And this comes from somebody who didn't like English at school, didn't like writing at school. How many times did you take your O-level? There you go. So this isn't your natural space. You sitting down writing is 10 times more difficult than for, someone like me that lives and breathes putting pen to paper and reads. I mean, you hadn't actually read a book apart from your O-level book until you met me. I think the only book you'd ever...
That's not quite true. I used to read the Beano Annual every Christmas.
There you go. Well, that's something. That was something. But so what I'm acknowledging you for is that it isn't your natural space, but your want and your desire to help other people is big enough that you're putting all that to one side and I'm going to do it. And then when you finished it, still got to go to print and go on to Amazon, but you're 2 steps away from that. Other people have had a read of it and have been very encouraging about it as well. So I just want to applaud you for doing something that isn't your natural forte, but your passion for helping people and wanting them to be happy and understanding how they can go about it and going, look, you can read that theory or that theory or that theory, but I've got a really simple one and it's really cool and it's really easy to understand. And if I can get it, then you guys can get it. And I want you to be happy. Just read that. And I know that we've told various people the whole concept and they just... that's what I love. They get it straight away. So do you want to explain it briefly now so other people that maybe haven't done any personal development might be interested in your theory?
Yeah, when I wrote the book, I was aiming it at one particular person. It was a good friend of mine who I'd known more or less all my life, and she was suffering from stress, anxiety and worry. And those were the 3 words that really resonated with me. Stress, anxiety and worry. We're not talking about clinical depression. I'm not talking about anything that is medically driven. I'm talking about the person that just gets up in the morning and doesn't want to get out of bed because they are worried about a meeting they've got with their boss that morning. So it's just everyday life. It's things that get in the way. It's the stress that people go through when they're sitting in a traffic jam. It's just ordinary everyday things, which just doesn't bode with me well because it takes away their happiness in life. Because I'm a very simple person and I just want people to be happy. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. So the book was written aimed at this one person, a very good friend of mine, and basically it's based around how to find true and lasting happiness. It's not a get-rich-quick book in the sense that you're not getting rid of the problems. The problems will still be there. Things will still make you anxious. They will still give you anxiety, and they will still make you worried. But it's how you deal with those that is the big key to my theory, or I call it the bubble paradigm, because it's based on the bubble, where the bubble is your life, and if that bursts, then you're dead. And that might sound harsh, but we're all being attacked by worry, we're all being attacked by stress, we're all being attacked by anxiety. And the idea of the concept of the book is that you build up a barrier to protect yourself against these things. And also within the bubble, you've got 3 little bubbles, which is your work, your family, and your me time or your be time. And if you get those in perfect harmony and they all work together, then there's that sweet spot in the middle where they all cross over, those 3 things, your work, your family and your me time, where they cross over, and that's what I call the sweet spot, and that's where you find true and lasting happiness. And as I say, I'm not looking at people that are clinically depressed. I'm just looking at your average Joe who has had no personal development, and doesn't understand the brain. I mean, the brain is a highly complex machine, and I talk about the inner voice, which is the thing that you react to straight away. You sit in a traffic jam, someone cuts you up, and that's your inner voice talking. And believe me, if you're saying I haven't got an inner voice, that's your inner voice talking. So it's that first reaction that you get where, in any circumstance. So part of the book is to say, just take time, just count to 3. If you find yourself getting anxious, just count to 3, regroup, and let the human voice take over. The human voice is based on history of previous experience and the stuff that's stored in your computer brain. So it's more likely to come up with a rational solution to a problem than the inner voice, which will come up using emotion. The inner voice will use emotion and ego, whereas your human voice will use a rational response, as well as the experience of how you've dealt with that in the past and got through that scenario. So that's a quick synopsis. I just finished that story by saying that someone once asked the Dalai Lama, what is the meaning of life? And he said, the meaning of life is to be happy. You're asking the wrong question. The question should be what makes you happy? And I think my book answers that question. It answers how to find true and lasting happiness.
Mm. And I think that's a question that most people don't ask themselves. And I think that's why people possibly struggle in lockdown, because it's like, well, is it stuff that makes you happy and I can't buy stuff and I can't go to places, or is it people that make you happy, or is it being content within yourself and feeling that you are enough? Does that contentment and understanding make you happy? And a lot of people are, I don't know. So just having something where you can, and you put exercises in the book as well, haven't you? So people can,
if you like breathing exercises, just to count, and I mean, I went to the doctors and to have my blood pressure done, and I know this stuff, and I was sitting there and I was anxious about having my blood pressure taken.
Which of course would make your blood pressure go up.
Yeah, and I know this stuff, how to relax, how to make yourself ready for your blood pressure test, and it went through the roof. And she said, this happens to a lot of people. When they come to see the doctor, they're so worried about what they've come to see them about that they get anxious and they get worried, and your blood pressure goes up. So she said, come back next Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the morning, see the nurse. You're not coming for anything else apart from a retest. I came whatever time she said. I saw the nurse. She took it. She said, you've got the blood pressure of a 17-year-old. I said, great. I said, I wish I had the body of a 17-year-old.
But that's when you've done the breathing exercises and you calmed yourself down. And
without that stress, without that worry, your brain just adapts. And that's what the book's about, is how to find that model where you don't, something's thrown at you, you don't act like a bull in a china shop. You actually sit back, you relax, you breathe, and you say, right, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get through this without reacting like a crazy man or woman? So
you haven't necessarily come up with the answer to everything. That's in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, isn't it? But recently, quite recently, you have turned a magical birthday age. And I was just wondering if you wanted to share with people not only how old you are, but also what went through your mind in the sort of the few days, weeks before and then after, and how it affected you, and how your bubble paradigm and what you've kind of instigated in your own life, how that supported what you went through.
Okay, let's start with my age. Well, if I said I was a 50s baby and I was born in 1959 in December, so I was only a 50s baby by 25 days. But anyone that's quick at maths will know that last December, that was my 60th birthday. And unlike the 30th, 40th and 50th, where I went, so what, it's just a number, 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 40. This was quite significant, and I thought, I'm going to struggle with this because we've got two fantastic, gorgeous daughters, and the eldest one got married in September last year, so I was still 59 at the time. But to see my little girl, who was born in 1989 when I was 30, actually get married was huge. It was absolutely, I mean, it was an amazing day, of course it was, but it was a significant step in the sense that that little girl that was the apple of my eye all of a sudden is a woman who's getting married, and she's off to start her own life and her own adventure. And I suppose it coupled that with the number 60 made it very difficult. So we had a joint birthday party, my daughter and I. So we had a 90th birthday. She was 30 because she's also born in December. I was 60. So we had a 90th birthday party. Everyone had a good time, and I'm still getting through it. I'm still getting through it, Jill. 60 is a big number. There's no two ways about that. But no, inside I still feel like I'm 25. But when I do exercise, because I go for a walk every single morning to clear my head and just start the day in the right way, that's my me time. My me time is my walk in the morning. I do feel it sometimes getting out of bed. I must admit, it's the legs creak, and it's like
on the reverse side of the coin. Obviously, we're grateful because if you weren't 60, you wouldn't be here. Is that you're actually beating some records as well, aren't you? Because your mum died when she was 52. Your brother died when he was 50. And your dad was 66. So you were 21 when your mum died. Yeah. And our youngest daughter was 6 weeks old when your dad died. So you've been a long time without close family, and obviously us as a family we are your family. And I think understanding you're very practical on your sort of motions of what you're going through, but I think the older you get, the more connected you are to your own longevity and how you see the world, and how you feel responsible now for, I've got to make the most of this. I've got to help people, and I want to help them to be happy because I've got everything that I possibly want, and I'm blessed, and this is fantastic. And now I think you've hit 60, and it's like, right, I've got to do something. And I think this kind of number is floated around because it's like, well, other people that I know and love are no longer here, so I now have to be taking the action that they might have taken.
Yeah, I mean that's the psychology of it. Of course it is, but I've decided I'm going to live to 110.
Okay.
So
thanks for the heads up.
So I've still got a lot to do. I've still got 50 years ahead of me to do stuff and to help people and rid them of stress, worry, and anxiety, and to find that sweet spot where they can actually be happy, because that is the meaning of life. So no, I'm not worried in that sense. I suppose what it is that I'm over halfway through my life. That's the thing. If I'm going to live to 110, then half of 110 is 55. So I'm past the halfway mark, which I suppose is significant. But no, psychologically, no, I'm fine. Of course I am. I've got a lot to do. I've got a lot of things I want to do, and I want to see my grandchildren. I want to see both my children, if we're blessed to have them, have their own children, and once we're out of this dreadful lockdown, to actually go around and hug my daughter and my son-in-law, and eventually give my granddaughter or grandson a hug as well. I mean,
I think it might be a puppy before we get that far. I don't know. The way they're going at the moment. Well, we've had a whistle-stop tour through your life and part of my life, and I think it's known within the community that everyone sees you as a very kind and caring man. And a lot of them will now be going, 60? Surely not. So age is but a number. And I think your mission in life wouldn't have been uncovered, wouldn't have been discovered had it not been for Collaboration Global. So I just want to thank you for sharing some more time to be with me today, and for sharing your insights into your future of how you see your world and how you can support and help other people in theirs. And obviously carry on doing your business, because I can't imagine you retiring anytime soon. If we were to contact you, Alan, what's the best way, whether it be about your book, about your philosophy, or about stationery? What's the easiest way for us to get hold of you?
I think the easiest one to remember is an email address, which is Alan, ALAN, at theschoolpeople.uk. So it's Alan at theschoolpeople.uk.
And that
would be the best way. But if people want to contact you on Collaboration Global or go on to the Mighty Networks platform. My details are on there as well.
Lovely. Thank you so much for your time. It's been fascinating. Hopefully people have enjoyed this as well. If you want to connect with us, you can find us through Eventbrite and come along to a meeting where Alan will be, and that's always on the last Tuesday of the month. You can check out this podcast on Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, all the other places where you would find your podcast. We also have an online publication called The Quest, which you can find in Issue, and a Facebook group. So lovely if you can find us in any of those places. But come meet us virtually, online, via Zoom, through our online meetings, which you can catch on the website as well. So that's collaborationglobal.org. My name's been Jill Tiney, and this has been Being Human, Hidden Depths by Collaboration Global. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's been a privilege. Thank you.
Take care.